Welcome to Small Business Talks. My name is Shiraz Sadiq, and this is the Marketing Automation Series brought to you by Zoho and Canadian SME Business Magazine. Now, Zoho is the leading international full suite of business applications covering every aspect of business: HR, accounting, marketing, and so much more. Their organic growth across Canada has been nothing short of extraordinary. Why? Because they solve the challenges that every business face in their daily operations. It's more than technology. It's leveraging the power of synchronized information so every department is reading off the same page. Let's go.
Welcome to the Marketing and Business Automation Series brought to you by Zoho. Today we'll cross the pond to speak to a proud Canadian, Kristi Perrotte, founder of Thryve Marketing, as she shares her experience growing and building out what it takes to automate marketing efforts. Her international perspective will reinforce the nature of human behavior regardless of geography. Let's go.
And welcome to another episode of Small Business Talks. My name is Shiraz Sadiq, your host for this series, which is Marketing and Business Automation. Today, as you heard in the intro, our friend is with us, Kristie, all the way from, well, she's going to let us know where she's all the way from, because that's a long, winding via story. Welcome, Kristie.
Hi. Well, thank you for having me. As the accent suggests, I am Canadian. I'm originally from Vancouver, but I am a resident of the UK. I'm currently in beautiful Cheshire, I used to be lived in London for many, many years, and here I am today. So just a little jump over the pond, not far at all.
Yeah, well, in this global world, it's amazing that it doesn't really matter where we are, because we can just prop up a nice Zoom camera and here we go. No matter where we are, what we do, we'll just figure out a way. Now, look at you feeling all waving your Canadiana flag. I'm seeing some fall colors in that picture behind you.
That one.
Where is that from?
That might be a picture of Whistler. So a firm favorite especially when I go home. It's a firm favorite. I always make it there.
So a few weeks ago, it was Thanksgiving in Canada. Yeah. How did you guys celebrate?
So I have a cousin who's also Canadian who lives in the UK. So we typically will always get together. We force feed pumpkin pie down our throats. We both have partners who are British, and they don't get it. They don't get it should be sweet, which it should be. They also did not eat our muffins nor the loaf but we do a full Thanksgiving dinner over here. So it's still quite nice.
Okay, good. Look at us taking over the world, us Canadians. Look at us. Well, today we're talking about marketing and business automation. What does that mean to you? So first of all, if I were to ask you to define a thought, that thought being marketing automation, how would you define that?
Ultimately, I think it's a way that you can reach people en masse, understanding their pain points, getting into the root of what they need from your marketing. It takes some preparation, but it's just a way that you can, particularly for sales teams and business development, it's how you can reach the right people with the right message at the right time.
If I were to case study this, for example, and choose a specific vertical, let's say the recruitment space, agencies that help place folks. Can you take me through a typical journey from and how automating that process could work and look like? Not from the seeker's perspective, but from the agency perspective. Could you walk through how, like, if using that vertical, for example?
Absolutely. And what's really interesting, and let me make this as relevant to whatever industry you're in. Okay. The interesting thing on the recruitment side is you do have two customers. You have a buyer, a client, who is typically the employer. And then you have a job seeker, which may traditionally be more of a B2C kind of audience. Very quickly on the client side, this is where it can be quite universal to most businesses. What automation allows you to do, and there's a host of different things you could be automating, from chatbots to programmatic advertising, social media, all these things. But the purest part of it is email automation, and thinking about taking your CRM or your database and mapping through, maybe there's customers on there that you want to reactivate. Maybe there's new customers that you're generating leads from and have their contact information, and you want to automate that process. The purpose of this is to think about what that sales cycle is. What is that sales funnel? What are those touch points that you're going to be that you engage your customer? And it's just automating them and putting them on different sequences, going down different paths to be responsive to their pain points.
So this is really interesting when you're speaking about that buying journey. Yes. We know that, most stats will say that before a potential client or customer picks up the phone and reaches out to you, their research and our access to information, we are so much more informed now. We're 62% completed the buying journey before we reach out from an RFP perspective, or just hey, do you guys offer the service? We're already a lot more educated from a client perspective. But what you're talking about is being a part of that 62%. Why not put yourself out there in a systematic fashion so people can become aware of you before they reach out to you?
100%. And that 62%, I've heard other statistics as much as 85%. There's some other statistics of 7 to 10 touch points. I've heard that increase recently to as many as 25 touch points before they make a buying decision.
Okay.
And obviously there's no pure science of this, but the reality is that customers today are kicking the tires before they are engaging somebody. And particularly whether you're buying something on Amazon and you're putting something in your basket and then you're clicking on it, an e-commerce experience, you will have already done your research. You will have done your points on review sites and maybe comparing pricing, etc. Or in the B2B space where I'm in, it's a similar premise. They're going to be looking for your brand online, or maybe they're going to be just looking for services or asking questions, or maybe they are already in your database. But what you're saying there is absolutely correct. How do we go to them? How do we ensure that we are there hitting those touch points so when they are ready to make that buying decision, we're top of mind and hopefully have evidence that enabled them to make that buying decision?
Yeah, because when we're in touch with them, there's a measure of control. There's a measure of, verbally or by email, let's set up the next, our next connect. I'll send a proposal. I'll follow up on the proposal. What we're also talking about today, ladies and gentlemen, with Kristie from Thryve, is that first initial process. How would you systematically set up, and it's almost like that Ronco commercial, right? Set it and forget it. And where you can set up your machine, right? And it's it's cooking your turkey for you while you can focus on other elements.
Absolutely. And that's the best analogy. And particularly from a marketing perspective, it allows you to really see value out of your investment. There's investment no matter what. It's whether your marketing team is putting in the hours or you're engaging an external supplier. The old mentality of newsletters or these kind of, one-off touch points, they're very kind of short-sighted at the end of the day.
Oh my gosh. I'm still surprised that people are asking, hey, why don't you subscribe to my newsletter?
It's not how people are searching for content today. At the end of the day, we're not the CBC, we're not the BBC, we are not the National Post. We're not at most businesses, and there are some exceptions. I know there are media providers, but most businesses are not in the business of delivering news. They do not need to be on the breaking news story that's out there. They need to be serving up the right information at the right time that their customer is looking for it.
And that's fantastic.
And that can be any time.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're in conversation with Kristie of Thryve Communications. Now, here is a thought for you. When we're talking about automating your marketing processes and flow, I'm leveraging off what you just said, is using the information that you have more effectively. What type of information should people be seeking out when they're trying to figure out how to make decisions and how to build their touch point journey?
Absolutely. And this is a great opportunity that marketing and sales, whether or not you think there is a silo or should be a silo, but really this is an exercise where they need to be working together. Because at the end of the day, your business development team they're going to have a pretty fair idea of what those pain points are across that customer journey. Marketing will be able to supplement that with some technical information. They could be looking at Google Trends, what people are searching for. They will have a finger on the pulse of the competitive landscape and what is being said there. And really the two coming together, marrying up that pain point with both the solution-based as well as the brand messaging within, that's when it really comes together and it really provides a holistic message. But again, that's hitting those customers at that right stage of their journey in order to enable them to convert.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Of course, this is Small Business Talks with a focus on marketing and business automation. Today, we're in conversation with Kristie of Thryve Communications. Not only is she a proud Canadian who waves her flag and feeds people turkey and pumpkin pie in October, she's also leading a charge in marketing on the other side of the pond over in England. Thank you again for joining us today. Now, before we took that break, we were talking about information, right? And information can be pretty fickle if you're building decisions on the wrong type of guidance. So let's start there. What is a good source of information? How do customers get better information? Because we know better information leads to better decisions.
I think ultimately it's you need to think about your customer and where they're hanging out. So are they hanging out on LinkedIn? Are they hanging out on Google? Are they hanging out on their email? In the B2B world, which is my world, they are probably hanging out on all three of those things. Your world, they may be hanging out on TikTok or they may be hanging out on Instagram, but understanding your customer and first and foremost, where are they hanging out?
Okay, perfect. So far, you're saying second, but I just want to bifurcate those two things. You're nailing down two powerful points. One is understanding who your customer are, and that's fairly basic. Okay, right? Everyone should know who their typical traditional target, audience is. But now what you're saying is, where are they? Because if you understand where they are, you'll be able to figure out how to build your journey of how to reach them. Okay, so fantastic. Where are they? That's really important. What else should we know?
Well, just really quickly to circle back on that is to understand you don't have to be everywhere. And I think that's a common misconception that's out there. And I deal with a lot of businesses that say, oh, well, I'm hearing this TikTok thing is really popular, or I'm hearing that this Instagram thing is really popular. But it's recognizing that it's not only where they're hanging out, but it's how they're using that platform. So a B2B organization whose demographic is possibly 35 to 50-year-olds, it might seem obvious, but you're not going to go on Instagram because even if I'm in that demographic and I'm on Instagram, but that's not my search habits and my usage habits is not looking for that professional services organization. Okay, I might be looking for fashion or something else on there.
So what I'm hearing is for our audience is, okay, so you figure out that they're on 9 different platforms. You can't machine gun spray all 9 platforms. You got to whittle it down and build up your competencies in a few of them. Figure out what channels work best for you. Now, you might have a sprinkle of clients in other channels, other platforms, but narrow it down and build on a handful versus machine gun spray all of them.
Exactly, but both in terms of your sanity, but also in terms of the resource. At the end of the day, there are a plethora of channels out there.
Yeah.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's vanity if you're not seeing return from them. So my rule of thumb is 80% of whether it's the channels or the strategies that you're employing, 80% has to be ones that are tried and true. You know that's going to yield you return. With your remaining 20%, test different things, figure out what possibly could work for you. And you can swap it out. If it works better than some of the tried and true, either increase your resource because it's working, or swap it out if it's working better than something else. But you can't be omnipresent all the time everywhere.
Oh man, that's gold right there. There's this concept where you got to work really hard. Kristie, from a sales leadership perspective, with my background, what's wrong with low-hanging fruit?
Nothing.
And if 80% of your fruit is already on the left side of the tree, because that's where the sun shines most, well, then hang out on the left side of the tree. You'll be at 80% of your number instead of spending a lot of energy where you're hoping for the best, where you're saying over here, it grows naturally because the sun rises on this side. So hang out on this side of the tree. That is fabulous. So far, we're hearing, figure out where, who your audience is. Basic. We know that. Now you're taking another level. Where are they, right? So that's our first takeaway is, where are they? And once you know where they are, you want to figure out what works best for you. Yeah. Finally, hang out where the fruit is, not where the hope at the top of the tree that you need 9 ladders just to get to the top, just to pick that golden apple.
Exactly. And maybe that golden apple, is going to be your bounty of fruit. Maybe sure. That is, the amazing apex of an apple. But it's all relative. That might be, I always use the concept of make sure that your customer, whether it's your stakeholder, make sure your stakeholder has some amuse-bouches along the way. They have some appetizers while they're waiting for their Michelin star meal, because that meal might take longer to prepare, and it might be better, it might have a greater windfall of sorts. But you can't leave your people hungry while they're waiting for that. So it is finding that balance.
Let me ask you a question then. You said 80-20, right? Let's break it off so people don't think we're talking about Pareto. Let's say 70-30, right? Okay, so 70%, of your effort should be where the sun shines on your tree so you can pick some apples. Okay, great. That 30% of emerging markets that you want to penetrate and see what can grow in those fields. Okay, fantastic. What would you say is worth automating first? Your existing rhythms and flows, or what you're trying new? What's a better practice there?
So I think if I maybe just change the rhetoric slightly, and instead of being existing versus new, I maybe call it existing clients versus new. And this is going to be different for different industries. The industry I operate in, you can be working with the same customer multiple times. It be one-off sales, and then you can manage them multiple times. It is always cheaper to re-engage, reactivate a customer than get somebody net new. If you look at the cost that goes into advertising channels or your sales teams to be sourcing new business, etc., that is a more expensive activity than either retaining a customer or reactivating a customer. So that's a big part of it. I would always go to, at the end of the day, you can do a bunch of cool things in marketing, but the value comes in when it's married up with sales. There has to be a revenue return at the end of it. So go where the fruit is, find out those apples that are there already and ready to be picked before you go seeking new apples, because at the end of the day, it will be a more efficient, ultimately a cheaper lead than doing it otherwise.
Thank you for joining us today, Kristie. If you were to let our audience know one thing about what Thryve does and does very well, what would you say to our audience today?
We do marketing automation really well. This is our flagship service offering. So we work exclusively in the recruitment business, whether that is recruitment agencies, recruitment technology, and importantly, really any business that needs to hire and acquire talent. So looking at how you can leverage marketing to support that recruitment and HR effort versus always relying on job boards or recruiters, etc. So there's a lot that can be done with automation on the talent acquisition side, and that's what we try to bring to our clients.
And what's one next step that you would suggest to someone's exploring jumping out of their Excel spreadsheet to track their clients, which is typical. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think. I have a spreadsheet or two that I still operate from because it works for me. And I don't think I would automate it only because it's me and me alone. It's the audience is me. But as soon as I have to add other people, I can't work off that spreadsheet. What would you say is a next step? There's multiple next steps that you could take, but what's a very practical and tactical next step that a small business owner can take to automate any part of their marketing initiative?
I mean, I would be amiss if I didn't say that you should be looking at a CRM. If you're scaling your business and that example you just provided, you should be looking at a CRM that integrates or in some way you can talk to a marketing automation platform. However, it isn't necessary. And you did give a great example there. If you are a sole business owner, or if you're just starting out, you haven't yet made that commitment for a CRM, you can still be taking that Excel spreadsheet and still be getting the benefits of marketing automation. And I'd start with email automation.
Okay.
In that, think of what you have already. I'm sure you have articles, pitch decks, testimonials. You will, if you've had any kind of tenure, you will have some tools already at your disposal. Think about how you could how you'd want to get that to your customers, how automation can support you in doing that. That could be as simple as a very simple email automation program, or with a little bit of investment, that there are some programs that does a little bit more sophistication, targeting, sequencing, what we call, and particularly lead scoring. So you could identify who are the customers that are most likely to buy, and those are the ones you're going to prioritize in your follow-up. That's
fantastic. Lead scoring. That's a conversation that we are going to have on another day, because we know that there's this traditional battle between what an MQL and an SQL is, and we'll define those terms the next time we hang out. Kristie, thanks again for joining us and investing in our audience in a worthwhile way.
So great to have been on board. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining us today, and feel free to share this episode with others as well. And don't forget to subscribe to Canadian SME Small Business Magazine to stay up to date on all our upcoming events and get top business insights from industry leaders. This is Shiraz Sadiq, your host for the Marketing and Business Automation series, brought to you by Zoho.
And thank you to the team at Canadian SME for making the Marketing Automation series possible. And thank you for spending time investing in your business to move forward with Small Business Talks. The Marketing Automation series is brought to you by Zoho. Visit zoho.com or email sales@zohocorp.com to better understand how Zoho can literally transform your operational flow. This is Shiraz Sadiq, paving a way for your prosperity.